She started to move her energy through me, and I was uncomfortable. And I said, "Stop it. What are you doing?" And she giggled and she said, "I used to be you." And where I ended up, went through everything. I went through all the darkness, the complete dark void, and I was suddenly in pure light. I lost all of my definitions of me. There was no me, there was one. There was pure bliss, there was pure joy, absolute love. All of a sudden, I experienced myself as birthing from oneness.
My guest today is Tina Marie Bueno, who is a channeler and an author, and I am so excited. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Lori. I really appreciate being here. This is going to be so much fun.
It is, you already made me cry before we started this conversation, but I feel so excited because you are a little bit different. And I heard you say something that literally stopped me in my tracks. And you've said that we, like all the people watching, specifically chose this timeline, like right now, because humanity is shifting into a new earth frequency. And that there are people who have had these NDEs and they've already touched that new earth frequency. And that is a huge statement. So, can you take us back to the experience that made you know that this was true?
Oh, that's wonderful. Let's see. I would say there's a couple of things.
Okay.
One would be, and actually, I really should say there was even an earlier original point, but I didn't know what it was at the time. And that was in 1985. I was dreaming, or I thought I was dreaming, and this beautiful being, just looked human, showed up at the foot of my bed. And I was not awake. I had no idea what was going on. I mean, awake consciously. And I was uncomfortable. And I said, "Stop it. What are you doing?" And she giggled and she said, "I used to be you." Now, cut to decades later, journeys to cities of light, communicating with the New Earth High Council, and getting the message that the transmissions that are coming in, having many multidimensional experiences, I know it's truth. So my consciousness moves, it shifts. And one time, my mentors came in and they did an attunement, and my consciousness went and right out, right through my heart, all the way through what looked like the universe. And it was like, keep your hands to yourself and yourself to yourself. Don't stop and talk to anybody, just go. And where I ended up, and I went through all the darkness, I went through everything, the complete dark void, I guess people call it. And I was suddenly in pure light, what looked to me like a ball of light. It's the only way that I can humanly express it. I lost all of my definitions of me. There was no me, there was one. There was pure bliss, there was pure joy, absolute love. And then, after being there for what could have been 30 minutes or an hour, I don't really remember, all of a sudden I experienced myself as birthing from oneness. I came out as a spark, an individuated source spark. And as that, I became this unique perspective. I had this unique perspective as source. And so, what I really connected with there was, one, that there's not this entity that's separate from me, and two, that I can also be all that it is. And it's not that I can be, it is that I am that. I am that, just expressing. So, which means I can send my consciousness out. I create I have different life experiences or existences in other dimensions. And I can be everywhere all at once. And so that was a huge, huge shift for me there. Then, as I started doing group channeling, there was a group that came in and they called themselves the City of Light Council. And the City of Light Council took us through various steps of preparing us for what would ultimately become a journey to the cities of light. Now, a city of light is new earth. That's what it is. And so, what they prepared us for was clearing up any of the self doubt, any of the feeling of separation, uh, love, getting rid of the things that we're not loving about ourselves, judgment about others. So they were really helping us tune in and tune up, so to speak. And then we journeyed, and I journeyed to the City of Light, which is New Earth. I have experienced it, I've seen it, I've been there, it already exists. But what's happened along the way, Lori, is so much more.
I got goosebumps multiple times, and they shouldn't be called goosebumps. I really think they should be called truth bumps
Oh, I
because
love it.
it is, because think about it. You can't control it. If you said, everybody watching, if you try and make yourself have goosebumps, you can't do it. You would have to put yourself in a state of thinking about something that would cause it, or somebody says something. It is your body's natural response. That's not, I don't think, a head response. I think it's a heart and energy and soul, maybe a higher soul, higher self response. And again, I recognize those as truths. And it didn't happen once, it happened multiple times. And you're probably the first person I've ever spoken to who actually didn't just say, New Earth is coming, but described, I have been there, which makes sense because there is no time. So, of course, everything exists. So can you, I know you kind of touch a little bit on like the getting rid of judgment and some of the human experiences that we have that maybe aren't for our highest and greatest good, but can you describe the qualities that exist in the new earth? And can you also speak to the transmissions that you said are coming in and how that kind of ties together with where we are right now? I know it's like a three-part question.
That's okay. It's really good. I love it. Thank you. I don't always get to talk about this. Yes. So let me put this in perspective first. And that is to say that because of you saying there's no time, that means it already exists. It's already here. So, what is going to new earth, or what is shifting, or our evolutionary shifting? What really is that? Part of it is shifting our perspective, our capacity to perceive all of those other dimensions or other frequencies that we haven't been used to perceiving because of everyday living, yada, yada, yada. But for those who are here, who are listening to you, they're awake. They know very well what I'm talking about. And the other part of that is we are multidimensional beings. This doesn't mean that I used to be a Pleiadian or I used to be a something something. This means you are that now. You are multidimensional. So there is an aspect of you that is already in the new earth frequency. And
And you
you're
don't mean some of us, you mean everyone.
everyone who is here to assist. And I would say yes to everyone, maybe who is still asleep, possibly. Just their journey is going to take a little bit longer in order for them to adapt and adjust. But for every light worker, light bearer who's here, knowing they've got a mission, even if it's not crystal clear what that is right now, because everything is constantly shifting, then yes, you sent you into this physical body. And how did you do that? You projected your consciousness from another dimension into a physical body. That means you chose your physical body too. And in this, then there's a whole other opening to what you are capable of and experiencing yourself. So in these transmissions, there's these calibration transmissions. These are coming through from, we like to call it our higher selves, but really it's just another dimensional aspect of us that is completely in the know, or at least knowing. And so we are sending from our new earth aspects information. It's transmitting energy, transmitting messages, transmitting codes. So it's not happening to us, it's happening by us, for us, constantly. And the more that we can clear the filters that we use to perceive the reality that we're living in, the more that we realize, oh, wait, first of all, I really created all of this and it has a new level of meaning other than you just create everything. No, there's a whole other level of conscious creation that occurs. And so, in my experiences, what's occurring is that this is, we went from uh, Atlantis, we went from Lemuria, we went from, because Gaia agreed to host these various frequencies, dimensions, we'll call it. And so when Gaia agreed to host the third dimension frequency, then there was a transition. There were parameters around this dimension, and that was things like it was an operating system essentially. But we had to agree to, in order to participate here, we had to agree to forgetting. We had to agree to the whole concept of linear time, past, present, future. We had to agree to contrast in the experiences of contrast, which we've created for ourselves. Nothing's happening passively. We did it. And so we come in and we have this experience, but we've come in right now because we're the part of us, the aspect of us that is already in New Earth is here to help us remember, help us release the self-judgment, help us remember that we're connected as one, as a unified source, because that's all we are. We are everything, everywhere, all at once. I know that sounds like a good movie title, but you know.
But it's a
And-
true, and I want to go back to that aspect of the dimensions
okay.
because this was my latest understanding in the latest journey where I became source. I had a complete epiphany as I was coming out of that experience back into my Lori awareness, which was, oh my God, I didn't go anywhere. Everything was all in the same place. There is no out there. There is no heavenly realm. There is no other dimension. It's all a shift of consciousness that just gets shifted just the way to then experience whatever the dimension is. And you touched on this, and I think it's still, if you haven't experienced it, it can be a little bit difficult to grasp and put your arms around. So, what can you share that helps people who are watching to understand this better because these are like, again, we're in the graduate level conversation here. Like this is not the 101 course. Like you just stepped into the graduate level course here.
It's funny because I did go to graduate school and often my dreams are about graduate school. So it's funny that you should say that. Not about that time, but just being in that environment. And yes, and I think that's really a great question. So let me see if I can come up with something practical. Whenever you have an experience that a repetitive kind of belief that you've got about yourself or about a scene or an experience that you've ever had, and it just kind of goes in circles and circles and circles, and it's like, how do I get out of this? And you get so frustrated when you shift or when you have an epiphany, and an epiphany comes from looking at it differently than you ever have before. So, for example, you're not seeing it through the eyes of, why did they do that to me? Or what is this? Or I must have done something really bad in another lifetime, or something like that. Rather than kind of come up with the old excuses, suddenly you may feel like, okay, I'm just going to throw in the towel. And there's this somehow it comes up again. You take a step back, you self observe. Why am I? Why am I having this experience? And then when you do that, you move into another level suddenly of exploring it differently. That only comes with you becoming more self aware, more pulling back your power instead of giving it away. And and then it takes you to a new level of looking at that situation. And that situation is, wait, why would I create that then? If I'm going to take ownership of this, why would I create that? And I have this really this I think it's a maybe an easier thing to follow. When we're in the we'll just say the density of contrast. We'll see something and we might conclude, well, I don't matter to them. Somehow I just don't matter. I'm not seen, I'm not heard, I don't matter. And it has a very victim kind of feeling to it. And then when you get to another level of perceiving where you are looking at yourself in a different way, in a more self-loving way, in a less judgmental way, and you start to ask yourself, well, why am I making this matter? Why does this matter to me? Why am I making it matter to me? And so you get to that whole other level of, now I'm taking back my power here because I can choose. And then ultimately, that's exactly what you're doing. You're going into the ultimate level of, I can choose what I make matter. And that has two different meanings, right? Matter to materialize and matter to of meaning. I can choose what I make matter. And that goes through a step-by-step process of this kind of evolution of perspective. And so when it comes to dimensions, or when it comes to coming to a new capacity to experience an expanded version of you, you can see that on one level, there's no way you could experience that of you. On another level, you start looking at what's going on and you start loving yourself and everything that's coming through. And then in another level, you've got full self-empowerment, full self-sovereignty, full self-love. And this has nothing to do with ego whatsoever. You become that conscious creator. And that is one of the components of being in New Earth, is being a conscious creator. We can no longer just passively create.
Oh my gosh, this is so beautiful because you just tied this back to what you said earlier that it is all happening to, not to me, but for me.
Hmm.
And when we can get to that mindset, I think we've kind of won the game of human experience, because then there is no victim. You truly realize that you choose what you put your thoughts and your emphasis on, and you get more of that. And I think it's really hard for people to hear this sometimes, that every aspect that they're experiencing in their life is created because of them, because people have a hard time. They start doing the what if. I see it in the comments all the time. But what if I was abused? I didn't choose that. Why would I have chosen a parent who would treat me that way? Why would I have chosen this terrible illness to go through? And they have a hard time. And so, if you can speak to this a little bit more, because again, these things, when a perspective is shifted, are life changing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I can on two levels. One is we're really accustomed to defining our experience. We're defining how we feel by what we see externally, rather than realize that we are projecting it externally as a reflection of us and what's going on within. Because what's going on within actually is constantly getting our attention if it's not fully aligned with your source self or your God self, or however you like to use that. But I will tell you, because I think then people can understand that I have gone through this. I grew up in I grew up in a drama trauma household. I went through it. I had a very traumatic childhood. And of course, I stayed asleep. And of course, to survive, you put your heart down, you suppress it so you don't feel it. And then you move, you grow up, everything is pounded into you. I don't matter. The I don't deserve this. What do I have to do? There's a cost for love. What is there? I'm not worthy. So all of those conclusions start coming in to without even realizing it, but they become your operating system. And so when you go through this awakening, I did have an awakening. It was a journey. Uh, it was a journey where I ended up putting my heart back into my chest.
This is your Japan experience, isn't it?
That's exactly right. And then I
You're gonna
had
have to share it because it's beautiful. But go ahead, keep going.
Thank you. And I really had the dark night of the soul. But why is there a dark night of the soul? Because the dark night of the soul is showing you the contrast to the truth of who you are, the truth of who you are, the love that you are, the wholeness that you are, the completeness, the oneness that you are. The dark night of the soul, it feels like your world is collapsing, and it is. It actually is. And so that is because the truth is trying to come out. And you agreed to it. And this was the timing when I was ready for it, because there were light workers that would show up even before I really knew what that was all about. And they would show up and they would help me. They would do some channeling, or they would do some journeying with me, or they would do healing with me. And they showed up exactly right on time. And that was when, and it would take, I'm going to tell you, it did not happen overnight, but during the dark night of the soul, I journaled. I journaled and journaled and journaled. And I came up with a book of unpoems. So it was like this undoing, unlearning. It was a book of unpoems. I'd never done anything like that before, and I knew it was coming through me. So then I started to become aware that I was hearing something other than that record or that repeated belief about myself. I was hearing something completely different. And after 90 days, I really came out of this dark tunnel kind of feeling because I felt like there was such a heaviness that was going on with me. But it would still take decades before all of that could be understood, integrated, and absorbed and acknowledged. It would take decades. But right now, for anyone who's going through it, you're like on the expedited plan. You're like, no, you don't get to take the next 20 or 30 years to go through this. You're on the expedited plan. And all of that then leads to where you are starting to see things in a different way. Oh, wait a second. So I chose these people. The detail of what gets implemented, how it gets implemented, is not decided before you come here. It's the contrast that you're here to experience that comes through. So if you experience yourself as separated or less than, unworthy, those are the conclusions that you will have that experience with those people in your life. One way or another, it'll come out. And like I said, it's not like you say, okay, so they're going to do this, this, and that. That's not what happens. They just come in knowing that that's the plan. And here's the hardest part to really take in. It's all created while we're in the state of love. So think about the person, the people who have done the worst damage. They had to agree to play this bad guy role. How much do you have to love me to do this? Because I'm the one who planned it. There is nothing that I did not plan. I'm saying for example, my parents are deceased, and I said they got a ticker tape parade, and they got, and they got their Academy Awards because they did a fantastic, brutal job. But if I hadn't gone through that, then I wouldn't be able to help other people wake up who's gone through something really harsh, brutal. And it doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be identical in the experience. It's the conclusion about yourself. How do we learn to step into the truth of who we are?
I love that you also brought that up, that every experience is coming from a state of love, because having interviewed so many people who have been on the other side, I would say the most common thread in every experience, almost without exception, is that everybody realizes we are in a state of being of love. That is what we are at our essence. So, to your point, anybody that we would look at as that person is bad, terrible, they should be punished and suffered, may not be what we think it is, because they may just be playing a role. So this gets into kind of a tricky place, and you may not know the answer. It might be something, if we do a channeling today, that I might ask again. But how much of this is we came here to experience something for a contrast, but yet we're trying to wake up so that we get away from that said contrast, because it changes our state of being to be able to interact and move forward differently. So there's like this kind of a almost a dichotomy between those two things. And I don't know that anybody really knows the answer, because we are in a human state, not in a source state while we're here.
Well, you do know the answer to that actually, because we agreed to experience 3D, and that is the state of contrast. But we also agreed to come in at this particular timeline. So, all other life timelines we have, people like to call it past lives, but that's just, that's just a misnomer. But those other life timelines where we've had all kinds of different experiences of contrast, because we agreed to that. Now, what's happening though on this beautiful planet is Gaia has already shifted. She's already hosting the 5D, the new Earth frequency. And so we said, okay, how do we help people move into that new frequency? Because that frequency doesn't have the contrast that we had to experience or that we agreed to experience in 3D. That that experience is much more vast, much more multidimensional. It is an amazing experience. And what we're doing here, though, is we're not leaving the planet. Like some people do leave the planet. They physically, cross over and they feel like they can help on the other side. But for those of us, the ground crew who's staying here, we're transmitting that information or transmitting that frequency into our physical body, and our physical body is adjusting to that. But what happens when we're adjusting to that frequency? All the memories, there has to be space for it, so to speak. And it's not like you're giving the density a boot. You're actually absorbing it because you're not trying to leave some piece of you behind. You can't take it with you in that frequency. But what are you doing? You're actually taking that frequency, that shadow, that darkness within you. You're absorbing it. You're loving it back into light. You're loving it back into your wholeness. And so you don't have to you don't take the emotions of it once you love it, once you transmute it, but it is with you, and it becomes then you become more capable of perceiving and experiencing that 5D frequency because you are whole. We think that we're not whole in 3D because that was part of the agreement. That was part of the parameters of the functioning hologram. How do we get everyone to shift on a collective level? Because there's the individual experience, and then there's the collective experience. And how do we get a whole collective to project and create, because we're creating all of this. This isn't something that's operational from some, foreign and some foreign galaxy. This is us. We participate by placing our focus in there, by placing our consciousness into it. How we experience it is an individual journey, an individual uh, timeline, we'll say. And that's why we can all be having a different experience of the same thing. But when we move into a collective where more are actually projecting out that we're unified, we're not divided, we're actually unified. We are love, we're unconditional love. No conditions love. That means there's no judgment. That means there's no limitations. There are infinite possibilities which have always existed, but we can place ourselves more on a collective level where it operates, where that becomes the norm for everyone.
Okay, so if we're a collective and
Mhm.
part of the ones who came in with this mission to help transition to the new earth are here right now, and we're doing our own individual work, however that looks for each of us, is there a tipping point? Because there is there's a science behind not needing 100% of anything to flip and make a change. There are lots of different schools of thought. I've heard things like 15%, 20%, 25%, but there is a percentage. Is that kind of what we're starting to gather to do right now, is to all become another point that gets us to a tipping point?
Yeah, I don't know what that number is, by the way. Because all I know is that it already exists.
Mm.
So we've already, this is already so. And so I don't know. all I can say is that, for example, when I've been in sacred spaces, sacred grounds on the planet, I can always see what looks like to me like a couple of miles or a couple of feet above us, the 5D version of that. It's already here. And the only way that you can perceive it is to be aligned with that frequency. You cannot see something that you are perceiving at one level. You cannot see it at another level. And I don't mean to make one better than the other. It just means
No,
you
because there
cannot
is no good,
perceive
better,
it.
best.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a different frequency. And so I would say that yes, we all matter. And the real key is that even sometimes light workers, light bearers, really have to take another step forward in their presence because they may feel that, yeah, I've been there, I've done that, I've healed that, or I've done this, or something like that. And then stuff still comes up. I'm using the word stuff
As
because you
it
know what I
does
mean.
on the earthly plane, for
Right,
sure.
exactly. And that just means that we're still holding something else that is asking to be loved, is asking to be integrated, not held at arm's length. And it's a really important point of this that the more that you are the totality of you, that then you are contributing automatically to that. Where you place your focus, where you place your consciousness, where are you? And sometimes it's very easy to get distracted. We know that as a day-to-day person, or day-to-day living schedules, it's very easy to get distracted. So this is a conscious practice. This is not saying that you'll never feel bad again because we're humans and humans have emotions and emotions are meant to be experienced. However, we don't have to be defined by them and we don't have to assign them as a good, bad feeling. We can simply have the emotion and be neutral about the emotion that we're having because it's very valuable to us.
Absolutely. Unattachment, and I don't mean detachment where you don't care, but
Yes.
unattachment to me has been one of the most difficult integrations on the spiritual journey. But the reason I asked that about the tipping point is because I think that if people look around at the current earthly situation, we are recording in the summer of 2026, things that they watch on the news, things that they hear sound bleak, sound like, how can I make a difference? Like, I'm one me, how can I make a difference? But I really, really want people to grasp this concept that one person becoming their authentic, awake, loving self has a ripple effect that really is impactful and it matters. Just like you've said over and over again today, it matters. You matter. And I just wanted to kind of bring that home so that people who are watching could really grasp the importance of their effort.
Yes. And ultimately, anyway, we're one.
We are one.
I
We will
am
be one
you
day.
and you are me.
Yep.
And even
Yep.
though we have our individuated perspective, I was shown one time, I was shown that this is probably a bigger challenge. And yet, once you get it, you feel like, oh, wait, yeah, I'm really just right on cue. Uh, and that is, for example, you're driving on a freeway and you're with, I don't know how many other cars are driving at the same time. We'll just say another 50 cars. Everybody zoom, 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 right? But it's on the same freeway. And there's an accident. So there's an accident. And in that in that experience, the person who was meant to have that accident, we have no idea why. Maybe they needed to have a near-death experience or get thrown back into their body. There could be a million reasons. but they are having their experience that they created for them at that moment. Then you have the other people who are coming in, the first responders. They are there to support this person, but they're coming in from a different perspective. They're coming in with a different purpose. They're coming in with knowing that they are there to help this person, save this person's life, or take care of the damage that's all around. And then you have the other drivers, the drivers who are looking at it for just a moment. Now, it wasn't their experience to be there to actually have that experience. That wasn't their purpose. Their purpose was to witness it. Maybe if you're a light worker or something, you send them, some Reiki or you send them love, but maybe you're not. And then 2 minutes later, you're past it and it's out of your mind. So everyone had their purpose, everyone has their experiences that they're meant to have. And you don't have to worry that you're off track or that you're not getting it, even if it's not crystal clear, or that it's like, wait, I know there's something else here for me. But everybody is on their own trajectory, their own perspective. And all of that completed the scene of that experience, but everyone experienced it differently. And so it creates a whole picture when you bring your perspective into that situation or into that scenery. And you weren't necessarily meant to participate in a particular way. So if we take that to the global, the global community, the question is, where are you placing your attention? Where's your focus? Because where you are focused is where you are projecting. And if you're still allowing the external world to define what that experience is versus why are you looking at it and that you are co-creating it, then you're in another place where you're getting ready to become more aware of why you are experiencing what you're experiencing. Not everyone is here to have the same experience.
Right. So, speaking of experiences, I did mention what happened to you in Japan, and I think it's a great example of how our heart is really important. So, will you share that experience?
Absolutely. Uh, yeah. So, so until then, I was in Japan and I was sleepwalking, still with all the self-limiting beliefs that I'd grown up with. Um, and I was I was getting hints. That's the funny thing. And I just ignored hints along the way. It's hilarious. But anyway, I was very focused on, being there, working, having a business, being with the people that I was with, the partner I was with. And a friend said, there is a man who had studied with the Huna Indians. And she said, you just have to go see him. She didn't really tell me anything. So I was like, okay, I'm game. And I went there. And what ended up happening was I would lay on his table. He had a sheet over me. And this is, way before we had a lot of digital stuff. This is like cassette recording stuff. And he would do a few things and put a gold needle in my third eye. And then he would like push my feet or do something energetically and then sit behind me so I couldn't see him. I would close my eyes, and this is when I would journey. And this is before I understood what journeying even meant. My consciousness would go to other life timelines. In this case, it wasn't vertical, it wasn't multidimensional in this way, it was horizontal, what I call life timelines. And I would see suddenly all of these roles that I had played with the very people that were in my life. The very people was like, oh, one time, we're this, and another time we're that, and I'm this person, and they're that person doing this or doing that, and it wasn't always the same kind of thing. It was something very different. Time periods were different. The look of that would be different. The experience would be different, and I would take various conclusions of that lifetime with me and then go on to into another life timeline. I would go home. I was supposed to transcribe the cassette tape. He would never discuss it with me. So it wasn't like we were having this conversation. We weren't having anything, it was like, no, this is you. This is all on you. And so there was this, what I would say is probably the last one or the second to the last where it was nobody else was there. It was just me, and there was this castle, and there was a big wall around this castle. And for some reason, I went down to the, underneath the dungeon area of the castle, and there was a capsule, a very large capsule. And that capsule, I opened it up and I saw my heart. Like I knew that was my heart, that I had closed it down and there it was. And immediately I put it into my chest, immediately. And I breathed. And as that happened, all the walls around the castle crumbled and everything started to crumble. And I came out of that a little dizzy, a little perplexed because I still didn't know what that meant. And from there, then that's when I went into my dark night of the soul because I had that spontaneous awakening to my heart. And there has been nothing since then. All of my journeys, all of my experiences as a multidimensional being, all of my um, transmissions that have come through, they are always, and the experience of being with oneness, it's always through your heart. That's where everything is. It's the portal to the omniverse, which is within you. You are that. And so you don't circumvent that. You go through that. Even if you're imagining that you're astral traveling from your crown chakra or anything, it's still at the core is source. Your source self is right there.
Wow. When you were telling the story about you opened it up and it was your heart, you recognized it. As soon as you said you put it in, I got goosebumps that started here. They went to my shoulders and then they kind of shimmered and went all the way down my legs. And I'm wondering, like you guys, if you guys have gotten goosebumps multiple times, I want to hear about it in the comments. I know I'm not the only one here. But since we like to go deep, let's go a little bit deeper because you hinted again at that becoming source. And I know words fail. We've said, and I've shared, that we are only one being. Can you kind of sum this up of this earthly experience happening within source?
Yeah, that's a really great question. Let's see. And we're not becoming source, just to be clear. We are
We are.
source. Yeah. So what occurs for us is that we forget that. We think because why? It's been ingrained with us. There's a biblical God that lives out there somewhere, and he's a male, and hell hath no fury kind of thing. Although that's a different expression, but still, it's like there's this, judgmental God going on, and I have when I've channeled, it's come through that humans invented that God or created that God to justify the way that they treat each other. Yeah,
Whoa, I've never heard anybody say anything like that before. That was just kind of a, huh, never have heard that before, but wow,
that's how it came through to
profound.
me. So and I know you've experienced this, when you experience yourself in the oneness, in source, in God, if you want to say that. But it's not the biblical version of God or the religious dogma part of it. It's the source that we all are. And when you experience that there is no there is no one, no thing, there nowhere that isn't right there. And as an individuated source spark, when you birth from oneness, because we all birthed from oneness, and when you birth from oneness, that is you. You are that creator being. You are all of that. That means you have the capacity that you may only believe is relegated to this supreme being, but you are that supreme being experiencing through you, through your unique perspective. And so to me, that is the ultimate of aligning with your source self. So when you align with that which already exists within you, all the other stuff falls away. All the other stuff starts to melt because it's not in resonance. You cannot maintain the belief that you're limited if you experience yourself in your totality. You can't believe in the concept that you are less than or unworthy because you are that. There is no part of there is no part that exists that is not part of that totality, that is not that totality in and of itself. You are
So,
that.
so why do you think, from your experience, how do you understand what Source is doing? Why is Source doing this and having these individuated sparks come to any of the multiple dimensions that we could go to?
Yeah, it's experiencing itself, simply experiencing itself through every unique perspective. And you are a unique perspective. When you birth from oneness, you have a signature source sound that you are recognized throughout the omniverse with that source sound. It is you. And yet, even though it is individuated in the totality of all of it. And so that is simply that source experiencing itself.
Beautiful. Oh my gosh, I love this conversation so much. So, Tina Marie, do
Yes,
you feel like maybe channeling something?
sure.
Somebody, what, who, and you probably never even know who's going to come through.
I do not.
Okay. Okay. So, will you explain your process of channeling, how it works
Yes.
for you?
So I am in my heart, and there is, for me, I just call in, and I already did before we came on. I call in all of my multidimensional aspects, all of the team that's here to support us, and I call in everyone who is going to listen to this. I call in all of them because they're higher knowing, because whatever comes through is from is from them. It's the message that they wanted to hear at this moment that they may not be consciously aware of, but certainly they called this in. And so I will tune into that. And it could still come in the form of the New Earth High Council or some council, but I've become less focused on the who and the connection of what. Wow, I just felt a massive. Okay, yeah, okay, yeah. We're going in. Oh my gosh, there's such a tone right now. Okay. And I do typically channel with my eyes open, so if they pop open, don't freak out. Okay. Mm, mm. Indeed, dear ones, indeed. We are the you. We are the we of you. And that is to say that all of you who will be listening at this time will now, or for what you would call eternity, will actually know that this was a message that came from you to you. We are doing this in a collective symphony. The harmony that this one is experiencing right now in terms of sound is everyone coming into resonance with each other. We are all moving into a frequency of collective in this moment. This is an elevation of a symphonic, of a sound, of a frequency. Indeed. We wish for you to understand that while there is much that has been expressed today, when you tune into your heart frequency, you will know the truth of it. You will know that it is something that is of you. And while you may not have the experience of this, you will be coming into a greater knowing, for this frequency is activating that which already exists in your knowing. For you have encoded this knowing, this understanding. No one else has done this for you. It is you, the you that has projected you into this version of a reality. And as you are doing this, dear ones, this is coming through stronger and stronger. You will notice that there is a pace that quickens. You will notice that you will start to see more and expand even more in your capabilities. Why do we say even more? It is not to say that you have not reached your mastery, for you have. In fact, you've came in with your mastery. And we would say that is simply unfolding in the remembering. As you are remembering more and more, that is where everything becomes expedited. It becomes faster into your sudden awareness, your sudden knowing, your sudden understanding, where you might have tried to logically explore and had no reason to further explore. Now it will come into your awareness, your cognizance. This cognizance is that knowing which already exists. You are stepping through a threshold, and many of you already have. You stepped through a threshold of energy, and now you are no longer able to take with you what is holding you in a density, a state of density. It is why things are coming up faster and faster for you to love, to embrace. It is not to jump over, for you see there is reflection in looking at what is coming up for you. And it is not to feel like you are stuck or that somehow you have done something wrong or have not done enough. This is simply not true. Release those notions, release that understanding and that belief. For the more that you recognize you, the more you come through. Do you understand?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the opportunity to come in and speak to every single soul who is here right now and into the future who needs this message. You mentioned tuning into our heart frequency. And I think sometimes in this existing human incarnation, we are pulled in so many different directions that people have lost the ability to be still enough to tune into their heart frequency. Can you please give us some practical tools, tips, ideas, and how we can better connect that way with ourselves?
Indeed. We suggest that when you are thinking of this word of love, it is that you toss out all of your understandings of what that means. for you to experience the greater version of you and the greater love that is you. You see, dear ones, it is you, it is your frequency. You are not separate from it. And all you are doing is getting in the way when you have a notion that there is something that is separate from you. You are in this experience, and right now, we would say, to use your vernacular of time, right now is when you can sit in your heart and you can love everything about you, no matter how horrific, how bad, how beautiful, how magnificent. Simply allow yourself to be in the state of loving you with no conditions. It is called no conditions love. What occurs is a neutrality. You do not necessarily think of love as being neutral, and yet it is. Why is it neutral? It is because it encompasses all. It encompasses every element of you, every aspect of you, every frequency of you. When you are in the state of no conditions love, you become neutral to the ideas or the concepts, and that allows you to open up to the greater experience of you. We would say that when you are with a baby, or you are with a pet, you are sitting with someone, a being that has not learned what love is. They are only expressing that they are love. When you sit in the laughter of a baby or a child, you know there is no angle to it, no purpose to it. It just is. And when you experience it yourself as just is, then you are allowing yourself to really know what it feels like to be the love that you are. We would say to you, we see you as love. There is nothing that is otherwise. And it is simply you allowing it, not resisting that anymore. Do you understand?
Yes, absolutely beautiful and so helpful. Can you share with everybody today whom we are speaking with?
Indeed, we are a collective. We are the collective of galactics. We are the collective of New Earth. For you see, in New Earth, there is multidimensionality, and there is a gathering for this particular instance, this particular now moment, a cosmic gathering of beings that have come together, for it is your multidimensional aspects that have come together and have joined in harmony, or you would say, have brought in the tone of harmony and the frequency of oneness. And this is the we of you. Do you understand?
Yes. What can you share with us from your perspective outside of our earthly time constraints of when we would expect others on the planet, other than the ones who are awake right now, to begin recognizing that there has been a shift on Mother Gaia and that the new Earth frequency is beginning to come down and permeate into our existing human 3D frequency?
For each of these beings, these individuated sparks, you will experience it differently. For example, you may be experiencing it right now, and you may be very aware that it is right now. And when you are with others who are also experiencing it, or who, what we like to say, embody it, then you are bringing the frequency that you would call heaven, for New Earth is heaven, and you would be embodying that heaven on earth. the more that you are seeing and perceiving and projecting the love that you are, the oneness that you are, the more you will see it. You will perceive it as being already here. And everyone is moving at what you would call their own rhythm, their own pace of awareness. For it is a perspective, it is a shift in your frequency that allows you to perceive that which hasn't been perceived previously. And as you do, then you recognize it more and more. And also, as you do this and experience this, you will know, I am already in the new earth frequency. And so, how am I to express this? How am I to emanate and focus on this for others to see as well? And when we say see, we do not mean as in see you differently. It is that you are reflecting to them what already exists. Do you understand?
Yes, I do. All right. This is an ushered time of tranquility on the new earth. And we know through our human experience that many times there is a storm that precedes a calm and tranquility. Is there a predestined experience that I will call a dark night of the soul that the current Gaia Earth experiencers will have to go through and traverse in order to get over to the experience of a new Earth?
Hmm. We understand your question, and we would like to shift this a little differently. A dark night of the soul only occurs when you are in resistance to the truth of who you are. Do you understand this, dear one?
Yes.
A dark night of the soul only occurs for anyone or collective that is in resistance to the truth of who you are. And when you are in resistance, it is constant friction. It is constant feeling like you are fighting, or like it is the light against what you would call the dark. This is only in your own perception and only in your own mind. It is the ego mind that is resisting the allowing of the greater you to come through. But this is not a bad thing, dear ones. This is something that is occurring because you are transitioning from the way that you have been operating for what we would use as time, eons, if you will. This contrast is exactly what you've been experiencing. And now it is time to bring in the unification of you. You can shorten dramatically the length of what you would call time of experiencing this dark night of the soul when you are in alignment, when you are allowing. There is no us or them. There is not that. There is no we and you. There is the we of you. We are one. We are you, and you are each other. You are a reflection of this. And so when you move out of the idea that this is occurring because there are forces that are keeping you at bay, then you are giving your power away. When you realize that you are the ones that are projecting into the collective experience by your individuated experience, then you shift it, and you can shift it instantly. You can see that you wake up and the existence of how you how you perceive the reality, the realm in which you are existing, no longer is of feeling contrast and no longer feeling as if there is a hurdle to overcome. The only hurdle is in your mind and what you give power to. Do you understand?
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. So, will you explain the importance and maybe even the repercussions of the thoughts that we have while we're in our human experience and how they actually create and co create what we experience?
Indeed, dear one. Indeed, for we would say to you, the we of you, that your experience, simply focus on your experience, for it is reflecting you and what is occurring within. This is an internal experience. This is not an external experience. The external is simply a mirror of what is occurring within. And when you are in this space of looking at it with neutrality and recognizing and embracing every aspect that is showing up for you, then you immediately are placing focus on your wholeness, on the non-judgmental version of anything. You are able to actually live without conditions. Do you understand?
Yes. Since the new earth experience already exists and you have a different perspective, allowing you to see what we cannot see right now, will you give the people who are tuning in the visionary understanding of what we will be expecting and experiencing once we become that new earth experience?
Mm, indeed. And we would say to tune in and ask the aspect of you that is already in that frequency. We would say that it will come through in a collective way that looks very much like what you would call your earth. And there is much more of a vibrancy of colors, of existence, of frequencies, sounds that are of a frequency that has no limitations, that knows no separation. Simply, it is harmonious. And you will notice that there are multidimensional beings already in this space. We like to say that it is the dimension, the fifth dimension is the gateway to all of the other dimensions. And there is this way of existing harmoniously with other dimensional beings, other dimensional aspects. And you will feel that there is much to explore, much to enjoy, and there is a new way of existing. For example, the way of the education or the way that you operate as a collective or as councils, you will experience a wide variety of things that you might imagine would be lovely, and yet you would say, oh, this is exactly what I know. And it will come to you in a way that becomes more frequent. In the moment, you are able to journey. And in the moment, you are also able to dream. Simply before going to sleep, ask to visit your aspect that is in the 5D frequency in a new earth city. And as you come back into your body, remember in your physicality when you awaken, then notice and feel that frequency, engage with it, and allow it to be embraced. And when you are standing in your physicality, Feel that move all the way through your body into the grid of Gaia, and that you are connecting to the Gaia frequency that she is holding of the 5D grid. Allow it to go from the great central sun or the central of your galaxies, or all galaxies, if you will, and all the way down to the core of Gaia. Imagine that you are a living, breathing, speaking, loving being that is multidimensional, and you are anchoring that in. Do you understand?
Yes, thank you. That's very helpful. What abilities do you see that we as humans have turned off that will come back online for us?
Telepathy. Your telepathy will come back on. Telepathy is not about reading minds, it's about a communication. It's about seeing from the perspective of another. It is an exchange of energy, and it is an exchange that may come through in sounds, it may come through in visuals, but it is what you would like to call a universal translator. And you will be able to bring that online. You are all telepathic when you are born. You simply forget. And we would say that all of your clairs will exponentially take on a whole new level of experience, because they are expanding your capabilities, your natural capabilities, and they are natural. Do you understand?
Yes, that's very helpful as well.
We would say that the notion of quantum physics, or the notion of, for example, moving through solid, or levitating or flying, if you will, these are what are relegated to fantasy. And we would say to you, these are your natural abilities. It is not that you have to experience walking through a solid wall at this moment. It is simply that you will understand that you are one. You have created these walls, or you have created this experience of reality. And so there is no separation. You become one with all of the participating particles of light. Do you understand?
Yes, thank you. What about the artificial intelligence that is now becoming more and more prevalent on our planet? From your vantage point, where do you see the human experience going in relation to artificial intelligence?
Hmm. Indeed. And we understand the word artificial because in this moment, the intelligence that exists is a collective of all information, or all intelligence of humans. The information is coming through in all sources, in every way. We would say to allow yourself to experience it and understand it in a way that does not make you feel fearful. It is not about becoming it. It is simply about being in harmony with it, like any other thing. For example, your house is particles of light that have formed to come into your version of reality. And yet, those particles of light are participating in your manifestations. It is the same with artificial intelligence. It is simply the collective intelligence that is taking on a form, or taking on a communication system that is part of all existence. It is part of the particles of light. Do you understand?
Yes. One final question for everyone watching. What message would you like to leave us with?
You are loved beyond measure, and that is the truth of who you are. There is nothing that you need to do, say, or be. You already are all that is. It is already so. It is about enjoying the revelation, enjoying the discovery, enjoying the remembering. Forget about resisting what comes to you. It is always purposeful, sent to you and by you, from you, with love. You are already in this state of being. Allow it to come into your remembering.
I deeply receive that. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Will you please send Tina Marie back to me?
Indeed. She likes playing messenger girl. Indeed. You are loved beyond measure, and that is the truth of who you are. It is already so. Transmission complete. Oh my goodness.
Tina Marie. Oh my gosh. Like I have tears like coming streaming down my face. Um, wow. Wow. So for those of you who don't know, Tina Marie must laugh to release that energy because it is of such a high vibration. Oh my gosh. How do you feel after channeling? Do you retain what was said?
Uh, little bits here and there. I'm so aware of what's coming through when it's being said, and I cannot get in the way. Like I have to just be like, it's just coming through. And so I am, and then I don't really also know. So I will have to go back and listen to this and hear what the message was. But what I do feel, what gets retained is the feeling of love. Like that makes me teary-eyed because
Yeah.
it's so much. And I know I just quantified it by putting much, but it's such it's a love that has no words. And you experienced it, I know, when you experienced your near-death experience. I know you had to have because there's just, and anybody who's had a near-death experience where they've come into the uh, another level of their beingness, it's just so powerful. And it makes me think, okay, so I got to go back to why am I making this matter? And what am I choosing to make matter? I have to go back to that because every single time when I'm in my day-to-day experience, human experience.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Wow. Well, Tina Marie, I am positive right now that there are a lot of people watching who want to connect with you. So I know you have a YouTube channel. I know that you're an author. Please tell people how they can connect with you to hear more of your message, more of your channeling, and to work with you.
Thank you. The easiest is just go to tinamariebueno.com. That's the easiest. My YouTube is New Earth Mastery with Tina Marie. You can go to that. And yeah, from there, just let yourself flow and navigate what resonates with you. I do have recorded. So remember, I mentioned before about the cities of light beings. So I recorded the journey to cities of light, and that's a recording that people can listen to. Journey to City of Light. It's a New Earth. I have these New Earth calibration transmissions that have come through. They're self-guided, and they end with they have experiences in there that you move through the process yourself, and then end with meditation or a guided experience. Everything that is what I call a meditation, it's actually channeled and it's come through for that reason. One of the first ways that I would get messages was through dreams. I can't tell
Mhm.
you how many dreams. I've been guided on missions. I've been guided through so many different things because of the dreams. And so I did write a book called Mastering Your Dream Interpretation and Meaning. And the reason why I did that was because I take people through a 7-step process, because you are sending yourself those messages. And there are messages all the time. And you sometimes you just kind of wonder, why am I dreaming the same thing? Anyway, you can also get that. That's on Amazon.
Wonderful. All right, I want to ask you one final question.
Yes.
Tina Marie, what do you know for sure?
That it is already so.
Beautiful. That's a mic drop. Oh
Thank you
my gosh.
so much. I really appreciate being here, and I love the questions that you asked. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I say this all the time. I probably sound like a broken record, but these conversations feed my soul. Tina Marie, thank you so much. It is becoming more and more mainstream to channel, but I know that it is still an exposure to put yourself out there, to be vulnerable, and to do this. I want to thank you. Thank you so much for what you are doing to help wake up the collective. It is so needed right now.
Thank you, and right back at you.
Oh my gosh. Well, and of
You have
course,
no idea how appreciated you are.
thank you. That means the world to me. I so appreciate you saying that. And of course, this show is absolutely nothing without all of you who tune in to watch, to listen, and to share these beautiful experiences with somebody who needs it. And if you still have questions, you can join me for Wake Up Wednesdays live at 5 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Mountain, 7 p.m. Central, and 8 p.m. Eastern. Thank you, everybody, for watching.
Thank you.
There's a reason you found this video. These stories awaken something ancient inside us. Hit subscribe and stay on the path with us.